Roger, go for deploy.
We are live. We're here with Jason Khalipa in NCFIT in California. Before we throw in and welcome Jace, which we've already been talking for about half an hour, but before we get him in and let him introduce himself, we're going to throw to, as usual, Tommy's tribute.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard, my friend. I've done No One Knows What It's Like, so Behind Blue Eyes, but I've done the Limp Bizkit version. So,
right.
And I'm going full ham on this one, so it's going to be interesting. All right. B flat minor, B flat minor. All right, here we go. Ready, Cam? No one knows what it's like to be this strong. For this long, Bill, can you get rid of that thing, Rob? Second right now, we're gonna keep going like our friend Jace. And I don't know what it's like to be this fit, because I'm this shit at CrossFit. Here we go, now it's full ham. But my dreams, they are optimistic, because my ability is spastic. Khalipa, I've watched you for so many years, so can you help me to be a man? Welcome aboard, mate. We're on.
Very good, very
Thanks,
good.
brother.
You know, it's so funny, man. I've done a lot of podcasts and a lot of different things. You're the first man who's ever serenaded me with a guitar.
Well, it's good.
That was great. And you're actually really good.
Oh, thanks, mate. I felt, I mean, the keto definitely helped me a little bit. I was slightly flatter than I thought I would be. But
The keto's putting you on that level.
yeah, exactly.
Jace, thanks for allowing us into your offices today. My friend, why don't you, not everyone's going to know who you are from our listeners, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and
Yeah, so welcome to our office. Here we are at NCFIT. This is our headquarters. We're in Campbell, California. We have, basically, I started the company in 2008, and I won the CrossFit Games, started the company, and graduated from college all at the same time.
Wow. Proposed
to my now wife like a couple months before that. So it was a crazy little bit. But since then, we've outgrown our space. We've opened. Now, basically, our business is split into two verticals. We have our corporate wellness, and we have our regular open to the gym, or open to the public gyms. Mm-hmm. So we have about 20 locations globally, about 150 employees that work in the organization. And this is where our kind of back end takes place, right? Mm-hmm. The social media stuff, the podcast, YouTube, all that stuff kind of occurs back here, plus all of our strategy for our corporate wellness and things of that nature. So you're kind of where it all kind of is at, and then that's what we do. I mean, and then aside from that, obviously from a business perspective, that's that side. Mm-hmm. From a fitness perspective, I've competed at the CrossFit Games 8 times, been on the podium 3 times, Team USA 3 times, had a lot of great experiences with CrossFit and competing in it professionally. But, obviously shifted gears when my daughter got sick 2 years ago and with leukemia. And since then, a lot's changed. And, it's kind of shifted a lot of my focus, shifted a lot of my perspective. So here we are today.
Beautiful, man.
Awesome.
Let me ask you, because it's obviously probably the most important question above all business and personal, CrossFit Games kind of stuff. Like you mentioned before the show that your daughter's in a good position now and stuff. Like what? That must have been extremely scary when you say it changed your mindset on where you were going with everything. Like talk us a little bit through that if you
Yeah, I mean, right now is a really great time. I mean, the month of March is a big month for us. So March 5th, which is coming up soon, is her last IV chemo, which is like a major deal.
Yeah, for sure.
And she's already gotten her port taken out, which is a major deal. And then her last actual chemo treatment by pill at home is on March 29th. And then we're gone for a week in Cabo.
March Madness.
So yeah, March Madness. It's been 2 years and like 3 months. So it's been a long time coming. And we didn't think when she first got diagnosed, I never thought I'd see this day.
Yeah.
It just seems so far away.
Yeah.
Because at the time she was 4 years old.
Fuck, man.
So now I'm like, when they tell you, oh, it's going to be 2.5 years, you're like, dude, she's only 4 years old. Like, you're telling me it's going to be,
It's insane.
And so now here we are. It's kind of, I'd like to say it's actually, anybody who has children kind of knows what I'm saying when I say like the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it has been. Like looking back on it, it's gone by quicker than I thought.
Yeah. And you look at it in the macro scale kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple big scares, but for the most part, we've been super, super blessed. And I feel like in a unique way, we've been kind of granted we've been granted this perspective. We've been granted this blessing of her being okay to go out and share the message, share positivity, and do a lot of good for a lot of families. So my wife and I are highly philanthropic in that sense because we really feel like someone's been looking out for us, for sure. We've had our back up against the wall a number of times, and we always feel like we've kind of gone out the other side, and there's some families that aren't as fortunate. So for us, that's a huge focus.
Absolutely. Can I ask a relatively difficult question, but like with your daughter being 4 years old and with everything that she was going through, when it all came about, like how do you communicate what's going on to a 4-year-old in this scenario? Like how hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, so she's 4 going, she was like 4.5, and the thing about it is as a parent, you have the responsibility and the ability to explain things however you want.
Yeah.
So like imagine if I was like, hey, this, instead of this being green, this is purple. But you wouldn't know any different because I'm sharing that with you, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So when we first told her about what leukemia was, we had the opportunity to explain what it was.
Yeah.
She didn't have any of that background like you do of people passing away.
Scary.
So when we explained it, the night that she was diagnosed, basically I read a lot of books. Basically I stayed up all night just reading, right? And there was one book in particular, it was like, it basically talked about basically your white and your red blood cells and how they're ninjas. So we kind of use this book as a way to kind of read it to her. And we use that same thing for the way that she lost her hair and stuff. We kind of utilize books because we're not experts. So we utilize these books as a way to kind of, ease it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, what it was a big takeaway my wife gave me was like the night that she was diagnosed, the next day, we're all kind of like figured it out. And so family would come by, and like Ashley's rule was, look, if they want to cry, they could cry as much as they want. Just don't cry in front of Ava.
Yeah.
And so at this way, Ava never really understood the gravity, at least in the beginning, because everybody was, I don't want to use the term positive, but they were walking in knowing what they're getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
There's very clear rules.
Yeah.
When you walk past this door, there's no tears.
Yeah.
If you're going to cry, do it outside. So that was, I think, something good that we did.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
great. And like, children are such information sponges at that age, So I was actually just having a thought when you were saying that of like how that's going to influence her as a kid when she grows older, the way she'll see sort of adversity in her life,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you go through something like that at such a young age, it's whether we realize it today or not, I think long term it will pay we're going to have a lot of challenges from different medicines that she's taken because I think there might be some concerns in the future. But hey, when they come, we will attack them the same way we did today. But I think she'll be a lot stronger for it, and I think that it'll make a great college essay.
Yeah, that's right. If nothing else, you get a good essay out of it.
So how does that change your perception? Because you said before it's kind of changed the way you sort of shaped the business side of things as well. Like, is that more influential to the wellness side, or what does that sort of do?
I think when it comes to, it's mainly the philanthropic side, right? Is that before she got sick, we would donate to the Navy SEAL Foundation, we would donate to this, to that, and everything's great. But when you're really hit with something and we actually see it firsthand, I think it just changes what we want to get behind. So as a company, we know we want to get behind, right? We want to get behind this pediatric cancer, supporting families, and And then just as a human being, obviously, has changed my perspective, right? Because, again, if nothing else, every time I go to the hospital, I'm just humbled. You know, you have people complaining about, you know, not getting the right type of ketchup on their hamburger.
Yeah.
But there's much bigger problems in this world. And I think that it took this experience for me to kind of realize that, you know, it's not that big of a deal what you're probably going through today.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the grand scheme of things, you're okay.
Yeah,
For
for
sure.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder, with everything that Ava went through, I've just lost my train of thought.
Have you?
Yeah, I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
You put me under the pump here.
Well,
But,
she is in remission now, though. Hey, she's
Yeah,
good
so
to
she
go.
actually, so a lot of people don't, you know, I didn't know what remission was. I didn't know anything about this until
Yeah.
she got it. But basically what happens is you get these day 29 results. So 29 days after she got diagnosed, they go in, they take a sample out of her hip. And then based on that sample, it's either as good as it gets or it could be as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big day. There's certain days that are big days. That was one of them, right?
Yeah.
And we were fortunate that at that moment, technically, given the test, X amount of 1 in a million, you couldn't see the strand. So she went into remission on day 29. Thing is, they still need to treat for over 2 years because they know that if they don't, it will more than likely come back.
Yep.
And in boys,
Yep.
it's 3.5 years because it actually comes back in their testicle.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, right, yeah. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So what I was meaning to ask before I lost what I was talking about.
I just gave him a brief second there for a second. Yeah. I'll film this one.
No, so my question to you though, Jace, is like, with you and your wife, like, how did you actually go about getting through it? Because it's obviously such an emotional thing. Like, did you put specific things into place to keep your mindset where it needs to be, or like, did you start meditating? Did you journal things? Like, how did you, as a person, as a father, you know, how did you get through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think understanding what was in our control was at our control, you know, educating ourselves, but making sure we were finding the right information. I think trying to be supportive and knowing, like, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to administer chemotherapy, but I could be supportive, I could be loving, and I could do everything I can. So, you know, we stayed in the hospital for probably a total of like maybe 3 months over the last 2 years. And when we're in the hospital, we just try and stay recharge, refresh. I try and take, you know, active workout breaks in the hospital parking lot, come back so I could bring some positive energy. But for the most part, you know, it's been a family affair, like it's been a family event. Like my mother-in-law was over every day. My father was there every day. My parents took care of my son. Like, I mean, it's just been a whole family dynamic.
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
You know, especially like we had one long stint in the hospital that was a little over a month, right? That's a long time to be in the hospital.
100%,
And so,
man.
you know, I didn't leave for a month because my whole rule was you never know when the doctors are going to come in. And those guys at the time were kind of like gods to me. I mean, they still are. They're like this godly figure to me, right? Because they've saved my daughter's life. So when they come in for rounds, I want to be there because I don't ever want to be behind a decision that I wasn't there to, like. I don't want to know they were making a decision and I couldn't at least know why
You
they
got
were
to be
making
fully
it.
informed of everything that
For sure.
is to be informed.
Every single
Yeah,
thing. Right?
absolutely.
Nothing's more important.
Yeah.
So my whole policy was I had to be within 5 minutes of the room, right? So if I went for a run, you know, I better run a fast mile
Yeah,
back.
you're running 100 meter sprints back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Call Usain.
Yeah. And so I guess the thing is that, you know, just trying to educate ourselves and trying to have like date nights, right? So like my wife and I, especially when we were in there for a month, my mother-in-law would come over, she'd watch Ava, and then we can go out across the street. They got to know us at this place called Fleming's, which is right across the street from Stanford University or Hospital. And we just go there, and some nights we just get some appetizers. Some nights we'd have 4, 5, 6 margaritas, you know, just,
Whatever you needed at the time.
Yeah. As you
Sometimes
said,
we'd have
mate,
10 appetizers and 12 margaritas.
as you said, you're trying to
Why
bring
not?
positive energy.
it just depended on what we needed that night.
Yeah. Shit, man. So what were you doing? You just bringing like equipment to the gym or something, or just doing little burpee wads?
So I would do a lot of like, they had an auditorium where they held like events, and like I got to know the guys. So like him and I would just be like kind of bros. I'd go in there whenever I wanted, when there wasn't people using it, and just do bodyweight style workouts, right? And then I brought our company truck with barbells and weights if I wanted to get something more. And I just parked it in the garage.
Yeah, classic.
I actually think that's a really
True
like,
CrossFitter style.
But it's like not even. I was just going to say it's actually a really good takeaway for something so big to impact your life like that. There is still like an element of not self-centeredness or anything, but to keep yourself balanced as well at the same time. You know, so. Yeah, I think that's really great.
Positive, like you said. You know, you need those endorphins when you're going through.
That's right, and it's strongly encouraged by the doctors. They just need to find a better way of administering it. You know, we started offering yoga there. it didn't pick up the same type of traction I'm looking for. We're going to bring it back. But we started offering yoga for a free service to all the inpatient people because fitness is a little bit tough. But yoga just is a way to get people out of their room and
get them moving.
The people who utilized it, they loved it. But for me, it's like I left, you're in this hospital room. Obviously, stress is high. You're in this small room with me and my wife and my daughter for a month. Leaving for 5-10 minutes or leaving, 5 minutes away for 45 minutes to get into workout and come back is a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
And you need to do it because, my wife needed to do it too.
Jay, so I got a question for you. So there's a book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Have you heard of it or read it?
I have not.
Talks about when the chips are down. It uses one of the chapters, or maybe a big section of the book talks about, as humans, when the chips are down is when people bond together the most.
Yeah.
The perfect example in most recent history is 9/11. So people talk about 9/11 was obviously horrible, but New York City was abuzz for 2 or 3 years afterwards. Everyone felt like they were back in a community. Everyone was reached out, helped each other, and they felt really, really tight and really happy because that's what happiness is. You want to have community, strong bonds around you. Do you feel like, and this is like obviously the worst thing that you can go through as a family, do you feel like it made you closer as a family?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, back to that note about New York, I just got back from New York yesterday, and I was looking at, where the new monuments are being set up, right? And how after the towers went down, how they raised, millions and millions, overnight, right?
Yeah.
It's because people, they wanted to be about that community. They wanted to be about something bigger than themselves.
Yep.
And they want, at the end of the day, we're all Americans, right? Or, in the United States.
You guys are.
Right.
Hey, I'm an American.
We've got an Esther.
Come on, bro.
We're Americans for 2 weeks. True. We nearly didn't get an Esther, actually.
And so like with the family, it's the same idea. It's like they felt like they got hit. It wasn't just me. And I don't think it's fair. Like, my wife and I have seen some stuff that the rest of the family haven't, because we've kind of sheltered them from some of these experiences because frankly, no one needs to see it. But having them around is so important. I think, as a society, we've gotten a little bit less, tribe-like.
Yeah.
And I think when something like this happens, you just realize that I don't know how you do it without the community, right? And that's why, especially in the Bay Area, people are having less children because it's challenging to support a family when both parents are working, this and that. But when you have the grandparents around and this and around, it's like you can have more children. It's more support.
100%. And this leads into kind of like what we'll probably talk about in a second, like obviously the business side of NCFIT, because you guys create that community and that tribe for people. You take people back to, because like you say, people consider a desk, 60 hours a week, come home, spend very, very minimal time with their loved ones and their friends and family. And then gyms are like, I always talk about the third place, your happy place. And that, look, I would love to talk to you about that, like that side of your life, the business side, because you have an incredible drive, I assume. Like you have, how many locations do you have now? You said you have 15 locations.
Yeah, 20.
20 locations worldwide.
Yeah.
So where did that come from? Obviously, not everybody wants to become a major force in fitness and spread it here, there, and everywhere. Where does your drive to do that come from?
It's just kind of built in. I just think that as a business, we need to constantly be evolving and adapting, and to create trajectory for our staff is so important, right? So we need to continue to grow and develop, and we want to help more people. Like at the end of the day, we could do a lot more good the bigger we get. Yeah. Right? The more money we generate, the more revenue we can, the more good we could do for our staff, the more we can give back to our members, the more members we could support with more fitness. We're in a business of fitness. It's a good thing to help people with,
that's right.
And so for me, I just look at it like, okay, create opportunities for our staff. If the more staff we could create opportunities for, the more people they could impact. The more people they can impact, the more outside influence we could have. So for example, we host an annual blood drive. It's the largest in Northern California, right? Because we have so many members here. They want to be something bigger than themselves. And so we encourage them to donate blood because I've seen it save people's lives. Yeah. But that's an example of how a business can do good, but still be profitable.
Yeah, right? That's right. That's right. It's like there was a fantastic conversation Sam Harris had on his podcast with this guy, William McCaskill, and he was talking about effective altruism, so giving without getting anything from yourself back to yourself. But there's a point there where you have to, do you actually take more money for yourself, grow your business, be more entrepreneurial, drive yourself harder, and so on and so forth, not give as much back because you can affect more people. You know what I mean? There's
I
that
don't even
fine
know if I
line.
agree with that altruism thing, because it's like, if you believe in the product and you believe in the value you can give, you're getting something back anyway by giving to those people. No, like you just said, you were
That's
speaking
right.
to Gary Vee about two days ago or so. And one of the biggest things he always says that I love is the best way to be selfless is to be selfish. So you get yourself right first, and then you go, hey, well, these things that have worked with me, or whatever it is, you know, this actually really, really helps, and I believe in that. So I can give that away to the people that I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, you know, from a business perspective, I look at it like a sport, right? I mean, I've competed professionally in sport CrossFit for a long time, and I want to win. Right?
Yeah.
I'm very competitive.
Yeah.
And in business, I want to win. And what is winning for us? It's continuously growing, creating more opportunity, helping more people become more fit. And then with that huge network, now what can we do with it, right? We can do all kinds of good stuff, from blood drives to philanthropic work. But you got to have the network, you got to have the reach to do really good stuff. And once you get that reach, you have a responsibility to do good with it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's my perspective.
For sure.
That's great. So what
Hey,
about you go? No,
well, I wanted to bring it back to its roots a bit. How did you get the nickname Bear? The Big Bear.
I don't honestly.
how do you think, mate?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's because
You got a bear?
the California bear is like it's on our flag, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very symbolic of California. And so, early on it was like the California Bear. Rogue Fitness put out a shirt, and I think it's just been that way ever since.
Oh, really? Fuck, man. I thought it was something. I thought it was just like the way you kind of muscled around. It's like, all right, the Big Bear's ready to pick up a bar.
You got a hairy chest?
Maybe that's,
You got a hairy chest, right?
oh yeah.
Hairy crack.
No, I keep it clean.
Call me the Hairy Crack Bear.
Yeah. So when you're going through this whole growth period with NCFIT and so forth, like what were the hurdles you kind of crossed? Because there's obviously levels to business. There's like, the way that I look at it is like peaks and troughs. Like you get to a certain point, you're like, oh fuck, I've got to put on a bunch of staff here, and then all your systems change, and you have to kind of get the hang of that, and then grow again, get to a point where you're like, okay, now we have to put on a second establishment that I'm not going to be there, I'm not going to be able to oversee. Like, what were some of the biggest hurdles? Because, like you said, you've got quite a large team. Yeah, what were the things that you picked up along the way, kind of thing, as an entrepreneur?
I mean, the thing is like I'm a gym rat at its initial thing, right? So I think it's over the years just. I used to work the front desk at a conventional gym for years, and at night I would go with the owner and ride the elliptical and pick his brain about business. And so I learned a lot about the business of fitness from him, and I learned a lot about practical coaching, et cetera, from CrossFit space. So putting those together was organic for me because I already had this background in the conventional gym where it was about being business, right?
Yeah.
Not just opening as a hobby, but actually thinking about it as a business. So as I grew, I thought about it more as a business. Okay, I have one location. Let's make it profitable. Now all of a sudden we have a coach that needs an opportunity. How do we create an opportunity for him? Well, I don't want him to go do something on his own. Let's do it with him. And it just kind of organically happened that way. Now, obviously, hurdles is as you professionalize, as you grow, it's maintaining quality, right? And it's creating trajectory for your people. And I think over the years, I think we've done okay, but I think we could have done better with laying out the expectation early and often. I think sometimes I just assumed people knew what we wanted, but didn't really explain what it was. And that's something we could have done a lot better earlier on. It could have solved a lot of problems for us.
So you mean in terms of like the vision of the company, or you mean what your expectation is for each individual employee?
That's right.
Or,
Yeah, it's like with each individual, like I would think like for me, it's like work hard, just boom, boom, boom. Like when you hire someone, it's like just, for me, it's like I don't need someone to tell me what to do. I just want to go out there and just make it happen. I want to go grow the business. I want to coach class. I want to offer the best product because I'm inspired. I'm driven. But not everybody's built that way. And I think if I had just clarified that earlier on, like, hey, listen, your roles and responsibilities are these, and this is where you'll go if you do X. If I had done that earlier, I think it would have helped out a lot because I use the example, like if you're at Starbucks and you call your wife and you're like, hey, you want something to drink? And she's like, sure. But you don't ask what. Then you bring her home a drink and she's unsatisfied because maybe you got her the wrong drink.
Yeah, you got me a soft drink.
I asked for a fucking bagel.
Right. But you got me a latte, but I wanted a cappuccino. Whatever. But it's like, it's because I didn't ask, I didn't set the expectation right. I should have said, hey, what are you looking for? So she could have told me so I could have delivered on it. I think as a business.
You assumed.
Yeah, I assumed. I think as a business, you assume people are doing X, Y, and Z. But I think if we had just said it earlier and often, it would have solved a lot of these problems.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I wanted to pick your brain there because there's a bit of give and take with it as well. And if like you take on someone, there's like a good line between like taking the authoritarian approach of like, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. And then there's like a bit of take as well where it's like, oh, well, what can you offer us? And like, how do we find common ground in that as well? So do you find that like compromise with your employees, I guess? Or does it just stick to the one thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think in regards to staff, I think that over the years we've hired up people to kind of appropriately manage. See, I think one of the things that I haven't been I'm not very good at is managing people appropriately. So I think one of the things that I tried to do earlier on that I should have learned is I try to do everything and what I ended up doing was like everything at 70% instead of anything at 100%.
Yeah.
So I look at it kind of like CrossFit. For years, I was competing as an individual. And as an individual, your goal is to be good at everything and great at nothing. Because if you're great at running a mile, you're probably not very good at running lifting,
some cleans
right?
or whatever. Yeah.
So, but once you get on a team, now you can kind of embrace your strengths and not worry as much about your weaknesses because the rest of the team can kind of elevate. And as an individual on a team, you want to heighten your strengths, right?
Yeah.
One of the things we didn't do as a company, which we wish we had done earlier on, was delegate appropriately earlier on to enable people to really get to their 100% and elevate them to be great instead of all of us to be good at everything. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm answering the phones, I'm coaching, I'm doing this. You're doing 60% across the board when I could have had one person just do that and it would have elevated the whole game. That's another thing I kind of learned the hard way.
Yeah, I mean that's natural in business though when you're starting out.
And it's tough without revenue in that as well.
When you do like
power.
Yeah, when I was just me at the very start, I had to be, you would have as well. You had to be pretty good at everything. Otherwise, something was not getting done or something was getting done very, very, very poorly and your business is not going to go ahead that way,
That's
So
right.
that's probably like one of the points where you have to change as an entrepreneur, I suppose, and you have to go, right, well, this is how I have to lead in a totally different way. And then, put people in the right roles.
Old mate on spending
Yeah, and it
money.
becomes like a tipping point, right? Where you say, hey, I got to hire up.
Yeah.
I get this all the time as a gym owner. People say, oh, I can't afford a coach. Well, it's like, well, if you don't think you can afford a coach, you'll never afford a coach because if you're coaching all the classes, then who's out there building the business? And it just becomes this revolving door where you coach all the classes, but no one's out there sharing your message. And so then what?
Just on a actually in-gym kind of basis question, do you actually get in and coach classes from time to time to still get your face in there, or you actually have stepped right away from that?
Yeah, I mean, this morning I taught at one of our corporate accounts. So,
Yeah,
yes.
Cool.
I mean, I love, probably my two favorite things to do, probably three. Love to coach. I love to give motivational talks. Like I just got back from New York giving one, and I like to talk business of fitness with gym owners because I think if I could talk business, that could last a lasting impression on them that they could then help their members longer. For years, I've been kind of like an animal in a cage. I'd show up to events.
Big bear, mate.
Yeah,
Big bear with a hairy crowd.
Bear in a cage.
Big hairy crowd. I'd be like, snatching or doing whatever, and people be watching, and they get inspired. But then after that inspiration, they kind of leave and they go do their own thing.
Yeah, that's
now,
right.
if I can inspire an owner and they could build their business, now all of a sudden they're building more trajectory for their staff and for their members. So that's where I get a lot of,
Drive.
Drive.
Cool. There's a lot of gyms out there. So Tommy's heavily involved in CrossFit. I was a CrossFitter for a bunch of years there.
Jason already knows that. This isn't exactly small.
But there's a lot of... So in CrossFit, I've got a lot of friends that are affiliate owners and a lot of people that I know and so forth from the Australian community, basically. And a lot of the gyms aren't exactly thriving, it's fair to say. Where do you think people are falling down in that regard? Because you're obviously the opposite of that. NCFIT is thriving and thriving and thriving, and you're helping gyms to get out there and do the same thing. Like, where's it breaking down in that community in particular?
I think it's a byproduct of two things. Number one is, just like anything, in any industry that saw the growth that CrossFit has, you will have people that will fail, period. Whether it's CrossFit, opening a coffee shop, whatever it may be, especially when it's a license model and not a franchise, it's totally different.
Yeah, because you can do what you want.
That's right. Where if you open up a McDonald's or whatever it may be and you're licensing a name, they give you guidelines and expectations, and the barrier to entry is high. For example, if I want to go open up a
McDonald's,
Subway or whatever, the barrier to entry is $500,000, right? So now for me to get that, I need to have a business plan. I need to go find funding. I need to do X, Y, and Z. For a CrossFit gym, you could open it with 20 grand.
Yeah, it's true.
And so the barrier to entry is low, the learning curve is high, and there's no franchise model that's replicated. So what happens is you have this amazing growth because anybody could open one. But then a lot of people open it as a hobby and not as a business. And then what happens is they don't make any money, they don't make any money. Now all of a sudden they're 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And what they start realizing is their passion, they start developing resentment for it because they're losing money every month or they're breaking even. And one of the things that a lot of these owners don't realize is if you're making 20, 30, So I've been on the phone probably in the last 2 months. I've been on the phone probably 250 to 300 gym owners just in the last couple months. And one of the things I try and explain to them is like, hey, what's your take-home income? You know, on average, let's call it $2,500. But if you actually evaluate this based on risk, they're actually negatively money, right? Because if you're making $2,500 a month, but you have all the risk and liability of your staff, someone getting hurt, it's actually negative. You're better off closing the doors and go becoming a member of a gym and go find another job. And so these owners need to realize that it's not a hobby, it's a business, and they need to treat it like one.
That's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's tough, like, I guess, especially when like the sweep of CrossFit came and people are like, oh shit, you know, like gyms are starting to build and stuff. There's like a disconnect between going, oh fuck man, I'm just going to be able to like make people laugh and train all day. Well, the majority of your time's actually on a computer, you know?
That's right.
It's a real tough one.
Well, I mean, it is a real tough one because what I find more than not, and I've probably talked to more gym owners than potentially anybody in the space, is that, you know, it'd be three buddies, they join a gym, they get fired up about CrossFit, which it's life-changing, right? But it's like, okay, you throw in 10 Gs, you throw in 10 Gs, there's no partnership agreement, there's nothing. And it's just because they're inspired by it because it changed their life. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And actually, it's motivating to me. Problem is that, you know, I love food, love it. But it doesn't mean that I think I'm qualified to go open up a restaurant.
Exactly.
Right? I'd rather just go eat, fine dining, and then, you know,
have some margaritas.
Go and do something that you know and that you've got a business plan and a model.
Well, I think it's something to be back to, you know, earned confidence versus perceived confidence and, you know, competitive advantage. I mean, for me, at the age of 14, I started working at a gym, right? So from when I was 14 till when I was 21, I worked at a gym, and then I opened up the gym, my own gym, at 22. So for 7 years, I developed knowledge, front desk, sales procedures, you know, riding the elliptical every night. And these were things that allowed me to have a competitive advantage and have the earned confidence through all this hard work to go open up a business. But I think there's something different between that and just perceived. Like,
that's interesting.
I could perceive that I have confidence and slap myself in the face and say, yeah, I could do this. But if you haven't earned that right, it's a lot more challenging. You know, think about like a UFC fighter, right? When they go into the ring, they've earned the right to be in there from decades of training. Whereas if one of us go in there, it's a totally different thing. We could.
I'm not going in there with any sort of perceived confidence, my friend.
We can tell ourselves all we want.
Before you punch me, let's do a snatch off. Let's do a win.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think as a business owner, I think regardless of what business you get into, I think it's very simple. You got to ask yourself, you know, what is my competitive advantage? Am I qualified to do this? And is it a good time for me to do this? Right? I mean, because if it's not good timing, you just had a kid or whatever, you know, you might be better off just taking a step back for a minute.
That's interesting, the old perceived confidence versus the earned confidence. I've never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense. I like it. So, Jay, you being the, you know, centerpiece of NCFIT and obviously top of the pile, like, what do you do to always be bettering yourself? Do you put a bit of like time into becoming a better, you know, entrepreneur, more well-rounded person? Like, what are some of the things, because you're a high achiever, you know, people like to hear from high achievers what they do, their tips and tricks. Like, what do you do to always be getting better?
I embrace this mentality called AMRAP mentality, which will be coming out soon. And basically the AMRAP mentality is this idea of like, you know, I was married, trying to grow a business, you know, trying to compete. I'm like, man, how do I balance all these different things? And the idea is that if I treated each facet of my life like an AMRAP, I could be more successful because I'm being present and focused on it. It's like right now when we're podcasting, I'm just AMRAPing with you guys. Like I'm sitting here, I'm looking you guys in the eye, we're having a good conversation. I'm not on my phone. I'm not, you know, doing anything else. I'm just focused on you guys. And I think sometimes as human beings, we're just so distracted all the time that we're not very productive. And so one of the things that I try and do is when I'm at work. When I'm at home. When I'm training. Like I told you guys when you guys got here, I was like, hey, I need to go work out real quick. I took 12 minutes, just did my own thing. Don't just you guys chill out here. I'll be right back. Right? But that's the kind of being present and focused that could allow you to get more work done in less time. So the AMRAP mentality is just about identifying what you want to focus on, right? So for me, it's business, family, fitness. Then switch gears or actually work hard at, you know, each thing that you're doing throughout the day. Switch gears in between them, right? So that right now I'm doing this, then I'm doing this. And then, you know, every now and then reevaluate what your priorities and what your focuses are. And so I think for me as a individual, as an entrepreneur, as whatever I'm trying to do, I want to make myself as uncomfortable as I can, as often as I can. So that means, you know, I roll jiu-jitsu when I'm home, probably 3 days a week. that's very much so getting comfortable with uncomfortable, right? It's getting me outside my norm, and that only helps me. I try and do public speaking as much as I can, because the more I do it, the more comfortable I can get with that uncomfortableness.
Yeah,
for sure.
I try and put myself in positions where your back's up against the wall a little bit, and you either man up and you get through it, or you kind of learn from it, right?
Yeah, that's great. I think.
Yeah,
let
that's
me say this, Jace. I think you just uttered the most CrossFitter sentence I've ever heard.
What was it?
We're sitting here, we're podcasting. I'm AMRAPing with you guys. I'm AMRAPing with you guys,
shit.
right? I'm like, well, yeah, I suppose you are.
Hey, are we recording?
But I know.
Stand by. Go.
Yeah,
Okay,
three, two, one, go. Nah, but it's about. I know what you're saying. It's about just being present and and actually being all in with what you do.
But
and I
it's
feel
still
like
fucking hard to switch that mentality times. Like, I would hate it. Like, I mean, I do from time to time, but like if I'm spending time with my missus after like a good day, a hard day of, whatever, like I'll be like, oh shit, I didn't send that email. What do you do to flick the switch then?
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but it's something I'm aware of, right? It's someone asked me the other day, I was speaking in front of a group of finance executives the other day, and they're like, so, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. It's just like, look, the fact that you're at least aware that you're not as present as you could be means you're already on the right track.
Yeah, that's right.
And so the fact that you could sit there and be like, you know what? I shouldn't have been on my phone when I was doing this. Like, that's something I constantly remind myself with, and I'm not perfect at all. I got a long road to go, but at least I'm aware enough to say, hey, when I'm doing this, I need to learn how to just let go. And it's tough because, I'm very entrepreneurial in that sense, like especially in business. If something comes up in my head, boom, I want to act on it. But the way I could act on it is if something comes up in the head, just write myself a note. I shoot myself an email, and I could address it later.
You shoot yourself an email.
Yeah.
That's one of your things, one of your
cool.
tips. Yeah, cool.
Most people just go like this.
Yeah, because I'm not like a notes taker, and like some of our guys, like they take a lot of notes and they draft stuff. For me, if I really want to do it, I'll just write myself an email and then shoot it to myself. Because what I like to do is at the end of the day, I like to look. Like for example, if I have a really busy day, I'll have tons of emails. One of them will be for me. I'll start going off, and I'll leave the one from me. Then once I get to the one from me, then I'll address it.
Yeah, that's actually.
Oh, Jay's got back to me.
That's actually. Yeah. I wonder how he is.
Fucking love that guy.
Yeah. That's actually great. See, I get business-related stuff coming in from all different angles, from Instagram messages, Facebook messages, mainly probably via email. And I always say to people, whatever they've written, I say, can you please email that same thing to me? Just cut and paste it, because if it goes into my email, I'll action it. I've got like a flagging, a proper system that I use in my email. But then for my own notes, I don't really like kind of thing, you know what I mean? So that's actually a really good tip. Email yourself. Yo, Doc, try and do this on
What's
Monday.
up, man?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That's what helps me.
Yeah, I like it.
So that's what helps me.
I like
So
it.
what about your training then, Jay? So we love the business stuff, but are you still competing? Have you retired now? You retired?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, so I competed as an individual 7 times on a team in 2015. And then 2016 season came around, and then obviously my daughter was diagnosed. It was a very easy decision.
Cool.
And, I thought about doing the Open and stuff like that, but I don't really have any aspirations to go to the games again. That kind of ship has sailed for me. I'm more inspired by, the business side and things of that nature. I still remain, very fit. I still work out every day with the gym and with the classes, but I don't have the same drive. And so, it's, the takeaway here is that I think if you want to do anything, whether it be go to the CrossFit Games or build a business, you got to have a strong internal drive of why you're doing it. Otherwise, when things get challenging, it's very easy to be like, you know what, forget it. My back's been up against the wall in competition a lot of times. And like, you think about it, when it gets tough, it doesn't matter how many social media followers you get or how much money you're making, you're going to fail if you don't have a strong internal deep drive. And so for me, I don't look at the games anymore with that same drive. So I'd rather just not place myself in that zone and just utilize it for fun, but not competition.
Yeah. And then this whole, I'm just interested because like this whole entrepreneurial, side of and the drive, and some of that must have been formed through your competitiveness during your when you were competing.
Yeah.
How did you actually find CrossFit in the start, and then how was that?
So in 2006, I was working at the conventional gym.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine, Austin, introduced me to CrossFit. And at the time, I'd just been doing the normal stuff. I'd done a little bit of Muay Thai, so a little bit of kickboxing. So I had lost some weight. I was feeling pretty fit. But, I didn't understand this concept of going against the clock. And it took me a little while to wrap my head around it, but once I did, it was excellent. But that same going against the clock is kind of like what I'm talking about with AMRAP mentality, right? Is get more done in less time. And so I was introduced to it in 2006, started competing in 2007 on like YouTube. And then 2008 was when I won the games. And kind of just everything's kind of evolved ever since. But I've had some good mentors along the way, some good people that have taught me a lot of good stuff and kind of taken me underneath their wing and kept me inspired.
Cool. Hey, Jace, I got a question regarding the sport of CrossFit in general. So, as a gym owner, somebody who's trying to bring general pop people, get them in the door, help them better their life, whatever they want to do, lose weight, look better, more self-confidence, whatever. That's what CrossFit does, right? What do you think of the sport of fitness in regards to getting people through the door in your gym? Because I feel like the way that the CrossFit Games is promoted might stop people from walking through the doors of the gym.
I think there's a major... I would make the argument, I don't know if the CrossFit Games have been good or bad for CrossFit.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. The good thing is it builds awareness. The bad thing is that it gives a lot of preconceived opinions.
Yeah.
So for us, we're NCFIT. We're NCFIT because we want to be in control of someone's first impression. And then when they come in, a program we offer is CrossFit at some of our locations. Not all of them, but a program we offer is CrossFit. And we're fans of it. But it's not our brand. Our brand and our identity is for us to distinguish. And I think that's one of the downsides of CrossFit Games is that a lot of people have preconceived notions that CrossFit's this crazy thing. And at the end of the day, it's actually not. CrossFit is the everyday person getting in better shape. But perception is reality. And that's why we had to brand ourselves as NCFIT so that we could be in control of our own destiny.
That's such an interesting... It's such a good point. Like, even as a coach, one of the biggest... barriers from a personal perspective you hear is like, I really want to do CrossFit, but I feel like I just
need to get in shape before.
I need to get in shape first and didn't do some PT first, But I really feel like kind of what you said could be the way it's going to evolve, where there'll be almost some gyms that are just kind of directed towards the competition-based side of CrossFit, and then there are just other gyms that are just general pop sort of stuff,
I think CrossFit's changed the fitness industry forever.
I totally agree.
It introduced functional fitness, it introduced against the clock, it did a lot of great things.
F45 came from CrossFit. All the Globo gyms have got functional spaces
Yoga.
And high intensity.
So if you think about it, 24-hour fitness was down here in terms of complexity and coaching, or your traditional gym. CrossFit came in up here with complexity coaching, a lot of complexity, complex gymnastics, complex weightlifting. What happened is this giant gap in the middle, and that giant gap has been filled with Barry's Boot Camp, F45, Orange Theory, right? Because there's people that want more coaching and more complexity, but not as much as what CrossFit's offering. So we've done as a business is we have 3 tailored offerings to hit all the areas of the gap, right? We have a 30-minute offering, a 45-minute offering, and a 60-minute offering. Our 60-minute offering is the most level of complexity and variance. You have Olympic weightlifting, you have barbells, whatever. 45 is just a power lift with a Metcon, and then 30 is no barbells, just dumbbell, kettlebell, rowing, etc.
Cool.
And so at our gyms, we have a way of kind of, hey, what are you trying to do? We just want to get you more fit. So, pick a program, let's have some fun.
That's good.
And do you find that like certain demographics fit into those 3? Do you see stereotypes?
Yeah, I think in general what you find is that the 30-minute class is better for someone who's not as consistent. 45 is good for someone who's like 3 days a week because it blends a little strength with conditioning. And then, 60 minutes more for someone who's like making it a program 5-6 days a week. The thing is that CrossFit tradition as a program, it's tough to follow only once a week. Because when you come in, there's so much variance that you can never really get good at anything. So that's why our 30-minute class is good because it doesn't take as long to develop the skill to row as it does to snatch.
That's true.
Jace, I got another question on CrossFit itself and CrossFit HQ, and I'm nervous a little bit asking you because you've been very close to the HQ of CrossFit for a very long time. So me being CrossFit, I was a CrossFit coach back in the day. Very heavily intertwined in the community. Like I said, a lot of my friends are gym owners, CrossFit owners, and their livelihood goes, in hand with the CrossFit brand. What do you think about some of the controversies that have been behind, like obviously there's the Glock thing that came out. There was a bunch of like little mini storms on the social media from time to time that kicked up a big stink.
With the social media posts like with the bear.
And
that. Speaking of which.
What do you think? See, a lot of my friends in Australia, Rob Forte, obviously, is like a multi-time CrossFit Games athlete. I remember him years ago making a post that brought up a bunch of the way that CrossFit HQ and their Instagram was like clowning their followers and so on and so forth with the posts they're putting out. Now, where do you stand with that whole thing? Because I feel like CrossFit don't do a good job of branding themselves in that regard. You know what I mean? Like the Glock controversy was obviously the big one. Obviously worldwide it was very much of a, like Americans, obviously guns are a big part of your, you know, of your...
I mean, it was very polarizing. The Glock in particular. I mean, think about it. We're in California. We're in a very, very liberal, democratic state, right? And my political, religious, or, you know, preferences of any kind have no bearing on our business for us.
Yeah.
So we are not pro or anti anything.
Yeah.
We're just neutral. And, you know, so that was challenging for us. But I mean, that's why we're NCFIT. We're in charge of our brand. We can't control what CrossFit does, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and more power to them. And any affiliate owner that has a problem with the way CrossFit's doing things, you know what? That's their fault. That's the gym owner's fault. CrossFit has zero obligation to do anything for the affiliate. Zero. You're paying a license fee, right? So if you don't think the brand is benefiting your business, then you have an obligation as a business owner to do something different, right? And I think a lot of times people complain, CrossFit HQ does this, CrossFit HQ does that. Well, my recommendation would be, hey, look, if you don't like what they're doing, no one's forcing you to do anything.
No, that's right.
You know?
That's right. But I just think, I don't think they do a great job of helping their affiliates out to a degree. Because there's a lot of people that exactly like you said, they're like, well, you know what? You know, this whole furor, this is my brand that's getting kind of dirtied with it along the way. Like I had a friend, Stu, I remember he was a CrossFit affiliate owner, and he was at the very point of like, right, I think I'm going to take my name away from CrossFit and become, you know, StuFit or whatever, for example, because of these controversies that unfortunately like drag the affiliate as well along through the name.
Just to play devil's advocate on that, there are some people that would like, there are some other people, you know, because Australia's very similar to, you know, the sort of political references that you see in California for the most part. There would be some owners, you know, or people that are affiliated, I imagine, that would be very for what they're doing because they love to hunt and, you know, they like guns and all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah,
like,
but I think what Jason's, I think what
sweeping statement to say that like it brings it down.
No, I think what Jason said was spot on. Like you don't put any of your political, any of your religious, any of your beliefs into your business, you know, because your main goal is to get people healthy, fit, and give them a good community, you know?
A great way to think about it is like music, right?
Yeah.
Music at our gym is neutral.
Yeah.
When you go into our gym, you shouldn't even think about the music. Meaning, what should inspire you and keep you coming is our coaching and our product, period.
Right.
Music should just be this neutral thing in the background. Like when I go to a Starbucks, I don't really care about the music because it's not something I even pay attention to, right? But I don't expect it to be vulgar rap with derogatory, right? And so for us, when you go into our gym, it should be a neutral thing. So we're not going to play any exceptions here or here. Same thing goes for political, religious, etc. It shouldn't even be a factor. It should just be a neutral thing outside the business. And, you know, back to the whole CrossFit HQ thing. I mean, look, I think a gym owner has it's a very easy thing for them to decide. If it benefits our business to have it on the outside of our building, do it. If it doesn't, then don't. And they need to make that decision. But I think this storm is coming where everybody, you know, hates on certain things that CrossFit's doing. But at the end of the day, you know, CrossFit's going to continue to do what they're doing, and they're going to keep right, wrong, or indifferent, and more power to them. But as a gym owner, you got to be about your business.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, and you could have your emotions and whatever about CrossFit, but for me, I've realized that there's nothing I could do about it. It's outside of my control. I just need to stay focused on our business and what we're providing, and let them do what they're doing. Let us do what we're doing.
For sure. And
I think that's it's a good point as well. Sorry, just to cut you off, but like blaming other things for, you know, I just finished listening to Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. So this is like right in the head at the moment. But like taking that standpoint and be like, oh, you know, because of CrossFit's controversial with this, you know, I've lost all my members and everything, and it's fucked, and oh, you know, now my wife's fucking divorced me, and like, you know, my crack's really hairy. But like, it's a good point just to be like, well, focus on the things you can control, and if it just goes to happen that CrossFit's political agenda did actually have an effect on you, well, then you can make that appropriate decision if you need to.
That's right. And I think oftentimes, I mean, look at it just like in CrossFit with programming. Every competitor wants to blame their programming for the lack of results they're getting. It's because it's something they could point at that's not directly in their control. But what I would say to them is, guys, you know what's in your control is your effort that you're putting out in the workouts. And I don't believe, I think effort trumps any other, programming or whatever it may be. You got to put in the effort.
Yeah, for
Same
sure.
thing goes to business. If you're executing, whether you have CrossFit on your brain or not, if you're executing, if you're servicing your clients, if you're getting out into the public, if you're building your business and you're truly about it, you will be successful.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
if not,
100%.
you're gonna try and find things you could pinpoint, and this is one of them. Now, eventually over time, every business owner needs to make a decision that if it is actually negatively impacting, then they have an obligation to actually do something about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think CrossFit's great. Like you said, I 100% agree that it's revolutionised the way people train forever. I think it's great. I just think they do things that, doesn't help as well to a lesser degree,
This My fitness ability has got nothing to do with my heroin addiction. It's actually your programming, mate. So if you could just change something up. Yeah. I've got an issue with you, mate.
Really got a heroin gag in there, Tommy.
Yeah.
Hasn't been.
Always make sure there's one heroin gag in every show.
Yeah. So Jay. What is your training like these days? Are you pretty just? Are you just general health and fitness? Get into an hour a day, or kind of big into your lifting, or what do you do?
I try and get on just a 5x5 back squat once a week. Pretty simple. Try and take our general NCFIT 60-minute class as often as I can, right, at our different locations. We have an app that's available to the public. It's 100% free. You can see all of our different workouts. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
But basically, I take a workout, and then a couple times a week when I'm home at least, I try and roll jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, mad. Cool.
So-
Man, more and more people are talking about jiu-jitsu. I feel like it's something I've got to get into now.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Why do you love it? Oh, you've done it from
A couple
martial arts
years. It's great. You just got to get past the first 6 months.
I've been a total spud, just getting choked out 10 times a day.
There's a huge learning curve to it. Yeah, there's a huge learning curve, and there always will be. But what I like about it is it's like a game of chess, and there's always something to learn. So it's nice, for me, because again, you get comfortable with uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nothing more uncomfortable than having a bloke on your back trying to choke you out as well.
Oh yeah,
Depends on what you mean by uncomfortable.
that's right.
Especially if he's serenading you.
So one of
Jason.
I'm a massive UFC fan, and one of my best mates, we're like UFC buddies. Like every card we'll go and sit down and watch together and stuff. And he's just started rolling jiu-jitsu. And obviously, like I said, been well entwined in CrossFit. And the way people talk about CrossFit is I've started this thing called CrossFit, and I can't fucking believe it. And they're 5 or 6 days a week, they're hooked,
Right.
I feel and I've got a few mates that have started rolling now, and I feel like the community is the same, and the passion is the same. That when I hear someone talking about jiu-jitsu, like Frey, this is my mate, he's texting me every time he goes to roll, every time there's a promotion on his jiu-jitsu club, whatever, he's sending it to me. Come on, bro, you got to get down here.
Yeah.
It's sick. It's so and I think it's that community aspect and the skill acquisition thing.
Yeah,
when you start actually going out and Olympic lifting for the first time, you're like, this is so fucking hard, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit better at this. And that
It's
you get
also really
addicted to
primal
that
as well, hey?
You get addicted to that kind of that progress and that skill, that learning. I feel like
It's the community, it's the progress, and it's the community, the progress, and the self-defense aspect is obviously great about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, one of the other things that draws me is obviously I love to learn. I don't ever want to stop. But I also like the idea of just these are gonna be useful tools that I could keep forever.
Yeah.
I've developed a level of fitness that's good, and it dramatically helps me in jiu-jitsu. Dramatically. I would recommend anybody who does jiu-jitsu to get out there and utilize fitness for sure. However, these are skills I can use for the rest of my life, which is nice because it's just nice to kind of build that hedge.
Yeah, for sure. It's self-development that you never lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you actually feel like it's good self-defense? Like if someone came at you, you'd be like, all right, mate, let's go for a roll. What? I just never
wanna roll
understood
me,
that
mate?
one. Because
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu's all on the floor, hey?
No,
Brazilian.
you start standing.
Oh, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
You start standing, then you get on the floor. So the idea is you go to the floor, but you look at the UFC as an example. I'd say 95% of them have a foundation in Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, period. So if you look at just that alone, if you assume UFC is the highest level of hand-to-hand combat, let's just say,
Yeah.
what do they use to train? are those two.
Yeah.
In general. Now, there's variations, right? There's American kickboxing, there's Sancho, there's Chinese kickboxing, there's different
Japanese
stuff.
jiu-jitsu.
There's obviously
Yeah.
judo, there's wrestling. But at the end of the day, those are the foundation. There's stand-up and there's floor work. And yes, it's extremely effective.
I mean, I reckon Ava, Jason's daughter, could choke me out right now.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't fight my way out of
It's
cold
embarrassing how shit I am at fighting.
yeah. So it'd be nice to know I could handle myself.
It'd be nice if you started going and you watch people who are significantly smaller than you be able to manipulate their body.
That's
like,
right.
It's mind blowing because you can just take someone's strength and just manipulate the way you want.
Yeah. My friend Mitch was talking about when he first got someone in a rear naked choke, and he was like, "What's the first belt? Like a purple belt or something like that?" White belt, of course, white belt. So he was a white belt, and for like 3 months he was just rolling around with like white belts and guys that were like 1 or 2 stages above him, and he was just getting like choked out, arm bars, whatever, all the moves and so forth. And then he reckons they film all the rolls, and then so Mitch was in this role with this guy. And he remembers, like, he somehow, like, found his way to his back. And he's like, right, I've got his back. And then he was hand fighting. And he's like, oh, I've got his hand. Sunk the choke in. And he's like... And Mitch was like, oh, my God. Yeah. I did it.
Yeah.
And then anyway, he went and watched the video. And apparently the dude he was rolling with, he, like, gave Mitch his back. And then Mitch he's like, oh, yeah, here you go. You can have my hand. Got him in the choke. He's like, yeah, sweet. Mitch, and he finally watched videos like,
Congratulations, man. You got me.
Yeah. And that's the part where you got to take your ego aside. Like for me, for how long I've been rolling for, it's important to work your different games. So my top game's good, my bottom game's not as good. So I got to be open and okay with especially with different belt levels, just playing the bottom.
Yeah.
And they're going to think they're crushing you, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to develop that skill.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so it works both ways.
Cool.
So I want to ask about fear and what that's like for you, because you said before you love to get as comfortable being uncomfortable as you possibly can, and what it's like for you in that moment. Let's just say public speaking. Was public speaking a tough one for you when you first started out with it, or?
Yes and no. I mean, in high school, I wasn't like great at it, but what happened is I actually credit CrossFit HQ for most of my public speaking ability, because I started teaching seminars for CrossFit HQ in 2009, and I taught over 100 seminars for them, right, over the next 3 years, maybe around 100. And every seminar, not everyone, but after like 20 seminars, I started giving lectures, because that's like how you work your ranks. And so at first I started giving 1 lecture, then 2, then some seminars I'd be giving 3 or 4 lectures, and that's you standing in front of a group. So how I developed that skill is I'd videotape myself, I'd give myself the lecture against the video camera, I'd play it back. I'd even give like little jokes like, hey, show me your squat. Oh, whatever. And I'd be like...
Emailing himself.
And, watch your back. Oh, that was funny.
Right.
Good one.
Right? And so that was one of the ways I developed the public speaking. And I mean, it's still something I develop all the time, but I think it's something that, I learned at an earlier age, specifically with selling gym memberships. It was an easy way to interact, right? So at the age of, I was a freshman in college, so I was like 17, 18 years old. I started going from the front desk to sales, and that was a great way to get to interact with people. And so the more you interact, especially at a younger age, you start to learn how to talk to people.
100%.
So just going on from that, what's something now that you find a little bit uncomfortable still, or something you kind of want to work towards, just having that skill in the bag?
I mean, I think for me, like, I love public speaking, but I don't think it's necessarily a skill in the bag. But what I do is I really beat myself up if I don't think I delivered the best product I could. Like every time I'm done speaking or doing something, I'm always asking like, hey, could I have done better? Like even after this, talking to you guys, like, could I have answered that question better? What could I have done better? Because like I'm my own worst critic, right? And I kind of have this paranoia where I always think there's someone coming up on me. There's always competitors trying to get us. And I want to embrace that paranoia. I want to embrace the fact that I am paranoid, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But as long as it's constructive.
Yeah,
right?
it can drive you forward rather than crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about all the time.
Cool. Tommy, should we go to 6 from 6?
Yeah, I reckon we should. Yeah. Sounds good.
So, Jace.
He doesn't know what it is. Let's keep him in the dark here.
Yeah. Jace, take your pants off. Another take your pants off, okay?
Throw that in again. We've got like 3 inappropriate sex gags.
So, Jace,
Can you play the guitar again?
Yeah, we'll get it out.
So, Jace, we normally finish with 3 questions from me, 3 questions from Tommy.
Yep.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Good. So my first question is favourite travel destination you've been and why?
That's a great question.
We've got him.
I've been to a lot of places, but probably the most sentimental is Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, because that was a place I used to go with my daughter a lot.
Yep.
And now we're going back at the end of March because she can finally travel abroad again.
Awesome.
And so that would probably be my favorite place to travel. And the reason why is because we get to go back there now that her treatment's done.
Yeah,
But I
cool.
also I've been to Queensland, New Zealand was great. Turks and Caicos, great. I mean, there's a lot
Where?
of beautiful Turks and Caicos.
Where's that?
It's in the Caribbean.
Right.
Oh, shit.
I've never even heard of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
I own a
great.
travel company.
Yeah.
I just got
Need
back
to go
from
back
Rio
to
de
geography
Janeiro.
class.
That was pretty cool.
Rio's
I love
great.
Asia. Hong Kong's cool. Singapore's cool. Like, there's a lot of cool places, but the one that's close to my heart is Cabo.
Yeah, cool. Good answer. Okay, so similar vein, your dream destination, absolute top of your bucket list, place you haven't been.
I want to go climb Machu Picchu.
Ooh,
Nice one.
that's a nice one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I've traveled so much. I've seen all these beautiful cities. But I think for me, I want to go do this with my wife. I want to just go climb the mountain and just kind of do something outdoors.
Yeah, sick. I've done Machu Picchu. It's
you?
great. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
it's just, it's one of those places where, because if you actually think about it, like, what the fuck was that city doing on top of that? Like,
Right.
you get there and you go,
Why is this here?
how?
Right.
Like,
How did they build it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just so inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. So, great. And then my third and final question is any books that you like to recommend to people, anything that's kind of changed your life, even just a fun read that, got you out of a bad
Well, I
place
mean,
or whatever.
obviously, I got to plug my book. So, AMRAP Mentality will be coming out in the next couple months here. I'm really excited about it. It's been in the works for over 2 years, but it's finally getting to a place where it will be ready.
Cool.
And but also like Mark Cuban's Sport of Business, that was really good.
Yeah, right.
I haven't read it in a little while, but I liked it. I thought, Gary Vee's most recent book, Crushing It, I thought was good in terms of just thinking about social media a little bit differently. Those have been some of the ones I've kind of most recently. Obviously, Tim Ferriss puts out some great books.
Yeah, I'm reading what's
Tools of Titans?
Tools of Titans.
Yeah.
Reading Tools of Titans at the moment, which is great.
That was his second.
That's the-
Because he's got Tribe of Mentors as
Tribe
well.
of Mentors is the most recent one.
Yeah.
Tools of Titans was the
4 hours, obviously.
Yep.
The fucking
He released them like it felt like about 3 months apart. Those two
Yeah.
books.
Super close.
Yeah, it was really
Tribe-
good.
Titans.
Tribe Titans.
Tribe Titans, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's it for me.
Jace, what do you like to... I kind of feel like I have a kind of an under of what you're going to say here, but what do you like to do when you have some downtime, spare time?
I mean, obviously, it's just spending time with the kids, traveling.
For sure.
Like when I'm going to Europe, I'm taking them with me. Any opportunity I can where it's like, not Asia necessarily. I haven't really taken the kids there yet. But anything that I'm there for a couple more days, I'll take them.
How old's your son, man?
My son's 4. My son's technically, he turns 4 next month, and so does my daughter.
Okay.
Or my daughter turns 7.
Daughter 7. Right,
So
yeah, cool.
4 and 7.
Cool.
And, okay, cool. So the second one is, who is someone you look up to? Like someone that inspires you or, yeah, like a mentor.
I mean, as of recently, man, I've just been running into a lot of people I just get fired up by. And it's not necessarily like the whole thing, but I pick little pieces that I get inspired by. Like Gary Vee, I never met anybody in my life that was so just like, bah, bah, bah. Then you sit down with Tim Ferriss and he's just so educated. Then you meet with, these other guys that I talk to on a regular basis who are really good at their specific things. And I try and pick up traits of different people. Because maybe, for example, there's a guy that I know, hypothetically, who's very he's strategic. You're inspired by it, but maybe his family side, or I'm not as inspired by it, right?
for sure.
And so I think for me, there's multiple people in my life that I just kind of pick up on different things that I like about them, and I aspire to be that in the different areas. So it's not just necessarily one person.
For sure.
That grab my. I mean, if I had to say one person based on, I don't know him personally, but if I had to say, it'd be The Rock.
Yeah. He's a ripper, isn't he? Yeah. Good hair. Yeah, he's great, yeah.
I mean, he's just legit.
Yeah,
I think he's referred to as Dwayne Johnson now. He's moved on from The Rock, Jason. I think it's
Rock is your last name, isn't it?
Hello, Mr. Rock.
And finally, mate, if you can invite 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be and why? So I guess 3 people that you want to just like pick their brains out.
Well, definitely The Rock.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson.
He's number 1.
Definitely Dwayne Johnson. Adam Sandler, I think would
Adam
be cool.
Sandler.
Oh, that's a ripper.
Yeah.
We've
In
never
like
had Adam Sandler before.
1994 Adam Sandler style, like when he was at his
Yep.
peak funniness.
Yep, like you know, old school days.
Yeah.
I mean, he really revolutionized a lot of different things, and I met him once, and he was super cool. So I'd like to sit down with him for dinner.
Cool.
Man, that's a great one.
Obviously, Dwayne Johnson would be cool.
Get him to Waterboy Dwayne Johnson on the way in.
Exactly. I mean, think about all the different movies he's been in. And then a third one. I mean, maybe Malcolm Gladwell, just to try and pick up on all of his research he's done.
Yep.
Mark Cuban would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably go with Mark Cuban, Dwayne Johnson, and Adam Sandler.
That's
a little,
great.
get a little
Cool.
humor, a little neutral, and little business.
Yeah,
savvy.
Yeah, I like
so what
it.
would you be eating then? It'd have to be halal, obviously.
What would I be? What would
I
I
think
be?
Adam Sandler's Jewish, isn't he?
Oh, what would I be?
Kosher.
eating?
Can't figure it out.
Halal. I don't know.
That was a stupid question. Sorry, mate.
Oh, shit. Is that
Beautiful.
it, Tommy? Is that your three?
Yeah,
I
mate,
can't
that's me
remember.
sorted. Well,
Cool.
finally, mate, you plugged your book a little bit. But
Plug it again.
Yeah, plug it again. Anything else you want to plug?
Oh, no, I mean, just, look, AMRAP Mentality, the book, it's something I'm very passionate about. I think it's going to make a big impact on people's lives. It'll be out in the next couple of months. No set date yet, but sometime in the summer, hopefully. Obviously, you just follow me, Jason Khalipa, on all different social channels, our website, Jason Khalipa. And if you're a business owner, check out the NCFIT Collective. Basically, it's session plans, programming on our app, and business tools. I think it's something really big for the industry. And I think people should check it out. nc.fit/collective. Go check it out. It's awesome.
Cool.
Sweet.
Nice one.
That's it right there, eh?
Yeah.
Except for the dot. That's great.
Except for the dot. Yeah.
We'll put that in.
All right, Jace. Well, mate, thanks for allowing us in your office, and thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.